So this is people of West Papua always defending on the nature, response. Amnesty International only allow 2001 since until today. So this is what the situation in West Papua. The recent torture, my village, one of the elder, maybe you've seen you go to Free West Papua website, there is the elder torture by Indonesian military.
Local tribes
recently, the channel for
5 other campaign organizations distributed the shocking video, which this
is elder, one of the elder. The Indonesian military took in the torture and then burned his genitals. This is human being.
Accusing them of being
human beings still alive. How?
2 men were tortured in scenes.
Just a sample. Maybe your uncle or your father, maybe British military come to your village and then they torture and in front of your eye how the British military burned the elderly genital. How you feel? This is our elder, right to my village. So this is happening right now. This is happening very long time, but luckily this is first time came out and the world could see what Indonesia been doing last 40 years, 8 years. That is the message. The message people of West Papua, they cry for freedom very low. They want to independent. They want to free from Indonesia. They don't want to colonize by Indonesia military, because colonialism is finished. But West Papua, one colony, 200 another colony. This is now in West Papua really happening. And John Salford is one of the West Papua historian, as well as his research on West Papua history. What happened in 1969? Maybe he will just 5 minutes something, he will explain.
And in the face of growing threats of war by Jakarta, the US pressured the Netherlands to negotiate. And as a result, the Dutch and Indonesian signed what was called the UN-brokered New York Agreement in August of 1962. But in the end, under pressure from Jakarta, the UN only stayed for 7 months before handing the territory over to Indonesia to administer without any involvement by the West Papuans at all. But under the Netherlands, Indonesia and the UN had an obligation to protect the political rights and freedoms of the West Papuans. But of course this did not happen, as it's been made very clear in the film and what Ben's been saying earlier. And as we know, these rights and freedoms have been systematically abused ever since. But also importantly, in this New York Agreement, it specified that a West Papuan act of self-determination should take place in accordance with international practice before 1969. This was actually in the agreement. And in the end, in 1969, the UN General Assembly simply voted to take note of the final result. And with that, the international community effectively tried to wash its hands of the West Papuan issue. But as we know, over 40-odd years later, the West Papuans' right to an act of self-determination, which was guaranteed by this agreement, has still not taken place. And the betrayal of West Papua by the international community, I'd argue, remains a fundamental barrier to the just and lasting solutions to this ongoing dispute. Thank you very much.
Rest of former Dutch colony, automatic hours. Why you want to give it? But that said, no. These people are very different. Ethnically, race, they're very different. They are connected with the Melanesian, not with Indonesia. That is the Dutch argument. So West Papua believe that we are different. We are one separate country. If you want to, I forget it. One of the generals, he said, if West Papua was independent, ask America or provide the moon. America will provide, in the moon or something. So that's why Indonesia take over West Papua, not interest of the West Papuan people, but interest of our resources. That's it. There's no any other way, the interest.
And I'd just add, when he said, I think also with Indonesia, as I said, their claim was for the entire Dutch East Indies, the idea that it will become part of the independent Indonesia. And so there's a lot of nationalism involved. If you read the statements of Sukarno, who's the first president of independent Indonesia, it's all about Indonesia. It's nothing to do with West Papuans. It's all about, yes, it's important for our national pride, this is our territory, this is our freedom, we're fighting. There was no, apart from that, I said there was no pretense to involve the West Papuans. Very strong reasons why I want to stay. And for the military, it's it's a great way of income for them. Well, as long as they're there, they get money from Freeport, they justify their expenses. There's lots of important reasons why.
I wanted to ask, to what extent were, did the UN not fold in part because they were aware that the Indonesians would invade by force should West Papua not be integrated?
At the time, really, the UN, although it was the official broker, and it was a UN brokered agreement, it was really the Americans were behind it. It was the Kennedy administration. Prior to Kennedy,
UN officials were there.
They'd always been.
They did
They tried to keep neutral,
they
but
said
they
nothing.
weren't going to
I
push
saw some
to get
West
the Dutch to
Papuans
make
shout
any
for
concessions to the
independence.
Indonesians. But as time moved on, by the early 60s, I think we were wider that things
which
were very
meant alone. I saw them bashed up and thrown in the back
the
of
threat
their
of communism,
truck.
things were just,
No
the
wonder
they were continuing
not one
in
person
Vietnam.
voted against
So the Americans obviously, they looked at Indonesia. Sukarno was very clever at sort of playing one off against the other. He said, look, I'm not communist. If you don't give me what I want, then there's a threat that communists might take over. So it was really the Americans. They put a lot of pressure on the Dutch. And yes, the argument, well, what could happen, that was certainly a very important factor. They certainly didn't want some war going on, as they saw it, a relevant colonial war going on in Southeast Asia. Especially, as I think was mentioned in the film earlier, something was, here's the solution this was the Indonesian solution for West Papua, that if you ask the UK or the US, they'll just say, yeah, the solution is special autonomy. But I think after 10 years, even if you look at the Indonesian websites, the government websites, they admit that special autonomy hasn't delivered. And there are many instances of Papuans saying we reject special autonomy. So on the 2nd of May, which is an anniversary, one of several anniversaries, this was the anniversary of the UN pulling out in 1963. On that anniversary, many people demonstrated, and as far as I can tell, the focus was, we want a referendum. We're not interested in special autonomy. It hasn't worked. It's not delivered for us. We want a referendum.
So our fundamental right to free, that is every human being, because that we under a lot of suffering by Indonesia, killing, torture, all Papuan are affiliated. So that is our fundamental right to free nation. That is our struggle about.